Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States. We'll have to wait because first we have to watch the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which makes total sense to me. Brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system, and you too can join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the descriptor to this podcast. And if you decide to purchase this or anything else from the Tempest website, be sure to use the coupon code WINTER2324 because if you do, you'll get some money back. And how much money will you get back, Joe Rayo?
10% off.
Yes,
Yes.
indeed. So here we are. It's a Thursday night. We made it through another week. You know what's really astounding?
What?
I mean, I kind of think it's astounding is the fact that uh, today is the 7th of March. Okay. The
Right.
7th of March. And I think the average precip for the month of March is something on the order of what, 3.5 or 4 inches or something like that. There are places in the Northeast and northern mid-Atlantic states that already have gotten double the normal for the entire month. And there is, again, it's only the 7th. I mean, that's where are we going with this? I mean, we are going to get a break next week, but William Uber's usually on the chat. He may be on the chat board tonight, but he messaged me this morning on where he lives in central Long Island. Got over 3 inches of rain last night. He's had about like 7 inches, 6.5 or 7 inches from these first three storm systems, and I'm going to probably put another 3/4 of an inch to an inch on top of that over the weekend.
60 years ago, almost 60 years ago, the tri-state area was in a terrible drought. In fact, I think in 1965, Central Park had less than 30 inches of rain for the entire year. I'm like 26 inches.
Right.
And the reservoir levels had dropped to something like 26%. And here, this has to be the opposite effect of what happened in 65 with so much rain that we've had already. And wow, it is amazing. It is
Yeah.
just amazing how
Well,
much rain.
yeah. I don't know what the rainfall record for the month is, but if you're already double the normal or almost double the normal, and you've got 24 days still to go, uh, stands to reason that you probably have a pretty good shot of getting at least into the top five, unless there's a major pattern change to something a lot drier than what we've been experiencing. But just crazy. So anyway, another gloom and doom type of day, but we are going to see some improvement tonight and a decent day tomorrow. So everybody should enjoy that because now we've got this next cold front and a low that's going to become a major storm in Atlantic Canada. And the result is going to be some rain. Although I think most of the rain's probably going to come Saturday night.
I think so too. I think whatever we see, like 80% of it is going to be during the overnight hours of Saturday, probably about an inch to an inch and a half for most areas. And then the big story is going to be the wind from later Sunday and on into Monday and on into Tuesday. And I don't really think that the wind is going to die down to any significant degree until Wednesday of next week. So rain, then wind. That's what we're looking at as we move toward the weekend and into the start of next week.
Good evening to everybody on the chat board tonight, and welcome to this Thursday night Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Also, a big hello to Congress because they're watching. Joe, they're watching our show right now while they're waiting for the president to come in for the State of the Union. And welcome to those
I'd
of
like
you
to be
who
the
are.
sergeant of arms.
I want to be the. I know I'm going to be the guy who goes, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker.
That's the
I,
sergeant of arms.
Is that who it is? Yeah.
That's who it is. The one who makes the announcement that the president will be entering the House floor, and then it's really going to be interesting to me what's going to happen. I mean, I don't want to talk politics on our show,
No, we don't want to talk politics, Joe.
but the Speaker of the House has always said, formally announcing the president, and most of the time, the Speaker of the House will say, "It is my high honor." And if you've seen or read what's been going on between the president and the Speaker of the House
Yeah,
lately,
they'll always, when it comes to these sorts of things, they follow protocol. They really don't.
it
They
is
don't.
my high honor. Although I hate his guts.
Oh, stop. Just stop. All right. Welcome to those of you who are lurking in the background tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We are on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. That's our regularly scheduled time. But during this month, we're going to be having some schedule changes during the week because Joe's getting ready for the eclipse and he's doing all these library talks. So subscribe and hit the like button if you like the show. If you get to hit 100 likes, you get to hear and see Joe Rayo ring the bells. So there you
Yeah.
go. All right, so shall we get started?
Shall we?
Surely.
Yes.
All right, well, let's do that. And take a look. We'll start off. Let me just make this map a little bigger before I bring it up on the screen. Yeah, let's do that. Um, let's take a look at the watches and warnings tonight. There's not a whole lot of them. We're looking at, there's a severe thunderstorm watch that just went up for parts of central Texas and into Oklahoma and southern Kansas. We have a small area of winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings in southwest Nebraska and northeastern Colorado. We have a few winter weather advisories in a narrow band right probably just along or west of I-25 in Colorado, and flood watches that are up for much of central and most of northern Alabama and the northern half of Georgia, including me. I'm under a flood watch. Yippee! Uh, which is um, which is good, Joe, because all my perennials are coming out now, which is really great. So let's take a look at what's going on the surface. And this low is now finally moving away and shouldn't be too long before we start to see the winds turn around to a more north. In fact, they already have. They've turned around more to the north and in a few places northwest. So I think that should allow for some general improvement. And we've got dry air for tomorrow, which is nice. Looks like it'll be a nice day, but right now we've got a new storm. You see the low there up in northwest Oklahoma that's developing, and this is going to be the next big weather maker for the eastern half of the United States. It's also four storms. This is going to be the fourth storm in 8 days, fourth storm system in 8 days. And this will be the last of this particular series because after this goes by, we do at least get a break in this parade of storm systems that we've been dealing with.
It's been crazy, I tell you. It's about time we got a little bit of a break. But again, the thing I'm concerned about, as I said last night, I wouldn't be surprised if parts of the Northeast went under some kind of a high wind warning between late Sunday and Tuesday of next week, and even in the tri-state area. I don't know what the exact criteria is, but wind advisories, I could see that.
Oh, definitely, definitely. David Fuller, thank you for hitting the tip jar tonight on this Thursday. So this is going to be the player here, and looking up to the north, there's a high in Canada that's come down, and it's actually a little bit chilly in parts of the Dakotas. It's in the teens, and from there, you don't have to go too far into southern Minnesota and southern South Dakota, where it's in the 40s. So go figure. And out in the west, really not much going on after a week of dealing with all sorts of winter storm warnings and blizzard warnings. The folks there have caught a bit of a break. And on the satellite loop, with the back edge of the clouds continuing to move eastward, and skies are probably going to be mostly clear very soon, if they're not already, because it looks like it's cleared out across Pennsylvania and western New Jersey and much of upstate New York. And it looks like the western edge of the cloud line, at least on the enhanced satellite loop here, when it goes to nighttime from the visible, looks like it's just about at New York City. And we've got the lightning strikes on the satellite also, and you can see there's a ton of them going on in north central Texas and up into northwestern Oklahoma. And this is where, of course, we have the severe thunderstorm watch going. Just a lot of patchy clouds and sunshine in the western part of the U.S. Looks like it's actually fairly clear along the west coast. And from Virginia down to Georgia and Florida, beautiful day here. Oh, so nice, sunny just about all day long. It was just gorgeous. It got up to 70, got above 70 again today. So I'm certainly enjoying that. I went on a 4.5 mile walk, so I'm good and tired. Radar still have a little bit of rain though in southeastern New England on the radar, and there's actually one little sliver that's touching eastern Long Island. So other than that, the rest of the radars in the east are quiet. But we're seeing the action here that's beginning to break out in Oklahoma and in through Texas. What did you think? I'm going to show SPC's forecast in a minute, Joe, but I kind of they've got the general thunderstorm line, Sandy Hook to I think it was Buffalo. You draw a line from Sandy Hook to Buffalo. That's from there south is where they have the general thunderstorm line. I kind of think it might go a little further north than that for Saturday night.
Yeah, I think so. I think there'll be enough lift. The system certainly is a very fast mover, a progressive system, and I wouldn't be surprised if at least we saw a rumble or two of thunder with it. So I would agree that I would move the general thunderstorm line area a bit further to the north. And who knows? Tomorrow we may see Mr. Gleason or whoever. I think we have two people who did the convective outlooks today: Grams and Gleason. Sounds like a vaudeville team.
It does, doesn't it?
And we'll see what they say for Saturday night tomorrow's forecast. But yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. I would not. A little bit of convection for Saturday night.
And why not? The
Yeah,
Storm Prediction Center, two severe thunderstorm watches are up. One that extends up into southern Kansas. The other one runs from western Oklahoma down into central Texas, and those are up until the one in let me see. Hold on a second. They were all issued. Oh, let me see. Time wise, um, 4 o'clock, just before one was at before 4 o'clock, the other one was at about 3:25. So they've been up for a while, and certainly the radar is sort of playing out as far as thunderstorms are concerned. For tomorrow, actually for tonight, um, the slight risk is pretty much how if you looked at where the severe thunderstorm watches were and you look at the slight risk, that's kind of how it's playing out here. And the marginal risk goes a little bit further to the east. There are various areas of 5% tornado risk in there inside a general area of 2%. So there's that. The Storm Prediction Center. Now, for tomorrow, we have a rather large area of slight risk covering much of East Texas. Looks like from Dallas, Fort Worth eastward into Louisiana, except the far south, which is in the slight risk, and also northern Arkansas, southern Missouri, and back into Oklahoma in the marginal risk. Slight risk pushing through Mississippi and into Alabama. Marginal risk pushes into Georgia. This comes with the slight risk area, Joe, 5% tornado risk for tomorrow. The storm's going to be in its development phase tomorrow. That's usually when you get the worst of it when it comes to thunderstorms. So I wouldn't be shocked if we wind up seeing some tornadic activity in the Gulf states.
and there's also fire danger of red flag risk over in a portion of New Mexico, as well as western Texas. And in fact, as you look at the drought monitor, well, the new map came out today, and it's indicating that for that particular region, most notably the southeastern part of New Mexico, they are in what I guess they would call a an exceptional drought situation, and Arizona, which for the longest time was not seeing very much in terms of drought, all of a sudden they are now, for much of the state, except for maybe the southwestern part of Arizona, they are indicating that it is getting severe to even looming on extreme drought. So, what it makes you wonder, uh, after all of what they've been through in terms of atmospheric rivers and rainy weather, whatever, whether or not California will revert back to droughty or severe drought situation before the end of this summer. Right now, the entire state is under no drought advisories or watches whatsoever. But again, we've seen that sometimes things can turn on a dime, and that could happen out in the far west. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, you know what? I just realized I could have put up. So this is the map, the fire risk you were just talking about there. Uh, Critical, according to SPC, uh, in southeast New Mexico and portions of West Texas as well. Uh, Day three. Hold on, let me get to day three on SPC's forecast here, and there's that general thunderstorm risk line: Sandy Hook to Buffalo, back into Michigan. We've got a marginal to slight risk from Southern Virginia into North Carolina, the slight risk in Southern North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, the Florida Panhandle, and southeastern parts of Alabama. Also, a small area of general risk thunderstorm wise in western Oregon and western Washington or an approaching cold front that is coming in there. And David Fuller hit the tip jar a second time. Thank you, David. His rumor has it lake effect snow possible on Sunday. Well, let's take a look at that in a moment. WPC, Joe, for tomorrow has a moderate risk of flash flooding in this area in central Alabama to central Georgia. This is where they have flood watches among the areas that have flood watches, a large area of slight risk from eastern parts of Louisiana northeastward into western South Carolina and southwestern North Carolina. So I'm not quite in the moderate risk, but I'm pretty close. And on the next day, now this is for Saturday into Sunday morning, they have a marginal risk up and down the East Coast from Vermont and New Hampshire all the way down to Florida, northern Florida, and they have a slight risk in South Carolina, North Carolina. The thing about well, there's two things. You've got the ground is so saturated. Okay, so one day of sunshine is not going to really do much of anything in terms of drying it out. So I would think that the threshold for flash flooding is going to be pretty low. But on the other hand, this system is not exactly going to be a long duration, rain here. I mean, yeah, you might wind up with three-quarters of an inch to an inch of rain, but it should come fairly quickly. I would think that if there's, any kind of flooding might be, the usual suspect spots that flood on a dime. I think those areas will probably might get something, but I don't think this is going to be. I'm kind of um,
Leary.
now conflicted about whether are they going to put a flood watch up or not. I probably would guess that they probably won't, which guarantees now that they will. But I'm going to lean to the idea that maybe it's just below critical for a flood watch.
I again the criteria, and it differs from state to state or from region to region as to what qualifies for a flood watch. So, but I mean, we know that at least here in the Northeast, that we'll have another shot of showery, if not heavy rain for several hours on Saturday night, which is if especially if you live on Long Island where they've had in some cases over 3 inches in the last 24 hours. That's certainly not good news, but more of the same coming for the upcoming weekend.
Yep. David, you want to look at lake effect snows? We'll give it to you in just a second. The WPC's they've got a half to three quarters. Well, they got a half inch in South Jersey, three-quarters of an inch for central New Jersey, and then they have an inch of precip from, let's say Route 78 in New Jersey back into Pennsylvania, northward into the Hudson Valley in Connecticut. You go up into Maine, you got some pockets of an inch and a half. A little small area, they have an inch and a half. In the south, we're looking at, and down here too, it's, we've had a fair amount of rain this week, so the threshold here is probably not that high. So we're looking at an inch and a half to as much as 3 inches from southern North Carolina across Georgia, now South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and then it kind of thins out a bit as you go into Mississippi and Louisiana. Now for snow, and this takes us to Sunday evening. So I'm thinking if this, we're going to get some lake effect snows. I think that will last through Sunday night into Monday. So we'll have to add to this. And the WPC has fairly high probability in northern New York and the Adirondacks, also in southwestern New York and into northwest PA, northeast Ohio, 50% or higher probability for at least two. You've got a 90% probability or higher from New Hampshire, northern New Hampshire, into interior Maine, and then, of course, on the Canada side as well. And let's see what happens if we do a four. And on a four, we've got all still pretty high in about the same places. So let's do, no, that's a two. I'm sorry, I didn't click the button. There you go. There's the four. So in the Adirondacks, about a 50% chance that you could see some 4 inch amounts. Again, this is through Sunday evening, so there'll be more Sunday night into Monday. And a high probability of at least four in northern New Hampshire and on up into Maine and up into the Canada side. And in the West, we've got this area in Colorado which is and also into southeast Wyoming and over into Nebraska, where we have a fairly high probability for at least 2 inches. And in the Cascades and the Sierra Nevadas, showing up also some high probability for at least two. So let's take a look at eight. And you can see there's areas of 50% or higher for at least eight. Let's go to 12. And you start to see just a few pockets here and there. So no repeat of last week's blizzard, thankfully. So that's good. So, uh, how's the F? Did you check the F gen?
For the Saturday night system.
Yes. Why don't you show everybody the F gen?
I did not check. I checked it yesterday, and I wasn't really overly impressed. Let me go to the northeastern United States and take a look at the GFS. I just want to check it out before I show everybody or anybody. And blah 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 blah. No, there's some
Well,
FGen, but it's
you can share it if you. The share is on.
yeah. All right. It's nothing I would really write home about. I mean, it's there. Let me um, widen it up a little bit. And what we're looking at here, and we talked about the fact that it would looks like the overnight hours of Saturday night, Sunday morning, we would see the greatest threat of any kind of rainfall. And you could see that there is some FGen to the south and to the east of New York. There's a little cluster area here in
Hold on, Joe.
northeast
Just a second. Hold
Pennsylvania.
on. I'm sorry. Hang on 1 second. Uh, okay. Yeah. There you go. All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now, I mean, this is as of 1 a.m. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Dare I say 2 a.m. on Sunday morning, since we will be switching over to daylight saving time. In any case, during the middle part of the night on Saturday night, Sunday morning, there's a bit of FGen, atmospheric energy here, south and east of Montauk. There's a little cluster batch here over northeast Pennsylvania and northwestern New Jersey. When we get to Sunday morning, you see everything has consolidated by early Sunday morning, but has moved rapidly away to the north and to the east. So it doesn't really appear that, whatever we have is going to stick around for a while. Again, it's just one hard hitting shot, one fast, hard hitting shot of moisture that'll be moving through during the overnight hours of Saturday night, Sunday morning. In fact, it pretty well could be over with, or at least the main batch will be over with when many people wake up on Sunday morning, somewhat bleary eyed because they will have lost an hour's sleep because of daylight saving time. And the other thing that's interesting is that the surge of colder air that's coming in. Take a look at this batch, Joe. This is at the 700 millibar level, but you can see that there's a kind of a core of cold air that arrives here Sunday night or by Sunday evening. I'm trying to see the numbers here.
That's with the upper low.
That's with the upper low. Yeah, it's going to be a pool of very cold air. I'm assuming that, let's see, this is -9. This should be -12, -15, and there's a little bubble which looks like could be -18 degrees. That's again at the 700 millibar level. Let me just change over. I'm just curious to see at the 800, at the 850 millibar level, what it would be like. Um, and you could see that the 850 millibar cold air hasn't, the core of it hasn't arrived yet. Yeah, it'll arrive at this is now at about 4,500 feet above sea level, approximately -9 Celsius by 1 or 2, excuse me, 2 a.m. on Monday morning. So, for what it's worth, this air coming in behind this disturbance for Saturday night is going to be quite chilly, and it won't be around for a very long while. But while it's here, it will cool the atmosphere down quite a bit, probably make it rather unstable. Look at those winds at 4,500 feet. We're talking about winds gusting close to 40 or even 50 miles an hour. So that's why I say that we're going to have some rather windy conditions as well later Sunday into Sunday night and Monday and maybe even Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm with you on the wind thing because especially this time of year when you get a cold pool aloft, like the models are showing, and you've got this big upper low that's coming overhead. You throw in the March sun on Monday to do a little mixing, and you've got the recipe for wind gusts probably over 40 miles an hour. So here's this deep trough that's coming into the east and strengthening as the upper low drops southeastward and moves pretty much right over northeastern Pennsylvania, the Hudson Valley, Connecticut to about Long Island, at least the center of the upper low does. And then off the coast near Cape Cod by early Monday morning. And then it slowly but surely does pull out. And then over time next week, I think we're going to have, once this rain is done early Sunday morning, it's likely to be dry right on through. What do you think about maybe this might be some instability? You think with this upper low coming in overhead during the day on Sunday into Sunday evening that there might
You know,
be another rain or maybe certainly it's going to trigger off some snow in the snow belts upstate.
yeah, it crossed my mind. The you know the semantics of a weather forecast for, let's say, Monday, Tuesday. Do you go mostly sunny, or do you go sunny with there could be a lot of those billowing, puffy cumulus clouds that develop very quickly, during the late morning and afternoon. I hesitate to say that maybe we go scattered to broken, and that would qualify more as a mostly cloudy forecast Monday and maybe even Tuesday. But that sometimes happens with a very unstable and chilly pool of air overhead. And yeah, that sometimes you get a renegade, shower of rain, or in this case, it looks like it's going to be rather cold or rather chilly, especially aloft. Maybe a few wet snowflakes, but
Yeah, wouldn't be a
uh,
shocker.
so we'll see. We'll see.
Once that pulls out, we go into a nice dry flow. And I'm just looking here, and there's the next trough in the west drops down to Idaho, down into Arizona. So that allows the northern jet to be more in control toward the end of the week and into next weekend. And there's one upper low that drops over the Great Lakes and moves east. Another one follows. So all of a sudden now, as we are approaching the last days of astronomical winter, the upper atmosphere has decided, okay, why don't we put a ridge in the west and a trough in the east? And we've got upper low after upper low drop and troughing. I mean, look at this trough on March 20th that's forecast by the models down up from eastern Canada down the east coast. I mean that's a shot of cold air coming in. And as that pulls out, there's still more troughing hanging around in Canada. We'll have to see how it plays out in the long range. But again, if I were a snow lover, which I am, don't get your hopes up with this because this just is, you know,
Social
again,
media is social media is a buzz, led, I might add, by Dr. Cohen, who is strongly indicating that after we get past St. Patrick's Day, that all of a sudden things start to get not, I mean, not amazingly cold, but anomalously cold or chilly for the latter stages of this month. So, and then of course, with that happening, and people looking at the European especially, saying, "Well, we bring a some kind of a system in here. We could still have some snow. We'll have to wait and see."
you know,
They're
it's got
still
to be.
hanging on to that hope of some kind of a late season snowfall. I admit it will. It does look like it's going to be turning chillier. Although, Joe, the Climate Prediction Center still does not agree with a lot of these winter weather lovers. They still have us in above normal on the 8 to 14 day outlook, which would take us what 14 days out from today takes us
The
to
21st.
the 21st,
Uh,
second day of spring.
well,
So
I've got the upper air for the 20th. This is the well, here's the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st. It's hard for me to imagine we're going to be above normal with a flow like that.
well,
That just no, no,
I'm
no.
only
I understand. I understand, and this is what the I'm looking at the this is by I have the European, by the way. This is the European AI. I mean, they've
remember
got
that
them
8 to 14 day. That 8 to 14 day is the mean of 6 days, not
right.
necessarily the 21st, for example.
Right. So yeah, so you're right. Yeah, so um 8 days from now is the 15th. So let's go to the 15th. So the 15th, the entire eastern half of the nation is above normal. All of Canada is above normal. The 16th, the 17th, it starts to slowly whittle away. It doesn't really get, to be fair, you're right, just to be fair, it really doesn't get below normal until around the right around St. Joseph's Day, the 19th. It's all below normal from the Rockies except right along the immediate East Coast for one period, and then the colder air sweeps in. And by the time we get to the 20th and 21st, there's all this cold air in Canada. Where it's mind-boggling to me. It's almost as I mean, to do it right around the last days of winter and the first days of spring is cruel. This is really cruel.
No, it's
I
like
mean,
that one year. It's like that one year where we had what a half an inch of snow at Central Park, and it was on the first day of spring that all of a sudden parts of the tri-state area had, 4, 5, 6 inches of snow.
yeah. I mean, but to me, this is really this is just cruel. It's just torture. But we're going to go into it. So you know what? If something's going to, that's the European. The GFS is a little different naturally. Kind of hangs up more of the cold. It actually has a shot of cold air that comes in around the 20th and then goes out, and then you have to wait for another one to come down, which is getting ready in eastern and central Canada. That's too far out for me to get all worked up over. But in the meantime, back to the short range, and we'll take a look and see what the models are doing here. There's really not much that's changed since yesterday because when storms go to the west, the models will show them 10 days in advance to be at a certain spot, and you can bet your life that it's going to be there. So we know Friday is good. Much of Saturday should be dry. The wind will start to pick up Saturday afternoon and more so Saturday evening. The strongest winds are going to be behind the low, and you can see the low tracks in Ohio, and then goes just east of Lake Huron. You've got the cold front wisping through severe weather and heavy rain across the south. We've got some rain Saturday night with some areas of heavier rain coming in, and then Sunday morning, the back edge is probably pulling out, except for in eastern New England. And then this low is going to redevelop in Maine or in the Gulf of Maine, and the gradient gets very tight Sunday night and particularly on Monday. So that's going to be the windiest part of this. Is going to be later Sunday night and Monday, and as you said, lingering into Tuesday. But much of next week looks dry. I mean, it doesn't look like the models are doing anything rain wise until maybe later Friday or Saturday of next week with some kind of low that comes out of Texas and runs up to the northeast with, of course, no cold air at all. And then, you can see some of the colder air that the GFS is playing with around the 18th, 19th with the system coming out of the Gulf of Mexico and going offshore. And it's got all this colder air that's spreading across the Great Lakes, anywhere east of the Rockies. It just gets cold. Like I said, it's really cruel for this to happen when it's happening. But we don't get to make those decisions, do we?
No, we don't. We don't. It's
No.
it's what can I tell you? That's the way
Mr.
it goes
Speaker.
sometimes.
Whoops. Mr. Speaker. Whoops. I didn't mean to do that. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, um, no, I was switching
Did you play your
browsers.
harmonica?
No, no, no. I was switching browsers and I had the YouTube show opened up, but it wasn't running.
Oh,
But when I switched browsers, it decided to run. I was trying to close it, and for a minute, second there, and all I just heard Mr. Speaker, like I did at the beginning of the show. Okay, let's do Briller Jeopardy, shall we?
Surely,
Surely. Okay, this is gonna be a fun one. And
maybe something other than weather. I'll
yes,
do the
it's
fly.
Oscars, Joe. Oscars.
Oh, Oscar. Oh my God,
Oscars.
I'm not an
Everybody
Oscar.
ready, chat board? We're going to do Oscars tonight. What three movies tied with the most Academy Awards won with 11? There are three movies that won 11 Academy Awards. Can you name these three movies? Mr. Rayo, can you name them?
I was The Godfather one of them.
No, The Godfather was not one of them.
How about Gone with the Wind?
No, The God with Wind was not. But Matthew Howe gets and Carol DeCara get Titanic. Brandon Grablachoff gets the second one with Ben-Hur. Okay, and the third one, which is Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, and also Brandon got that as well. So a lot of folks got through. No, the Ten Commandments, David Fuller, not there. So it was Ben-Hur, Titanic, and Lord of the Rings. And don't forget, Joe, that they're making a sequel about of Ben-Hur, about Ben-Hur's sister, Ben-Him.
Oh, Ben Him.
Yes. Um, three films, three films, Joe, have won what the Academy calls the Big Five. Okay, which is Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Actor, Best Director, and Best Screenplay.
Hmm.
Okay, three movies have done that. The Big Five: Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, Best Screenplay. Can you name those three movies?
I
Gone with the
can't.
Wind is not on that list. Gone with, you probably, you have to go back. Okay, you have to be a real movie nut to get this. Matthew Howe gets one of them. Silence of the Lambs in 1991 is one of them. Not Titanic, not The Wizard of Oz, not Lord of the Rings, not Casino, um,
Godfather.
not The Godfather. No. Brandon Grablachoff gets the second one, which is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in
One Flew Over the
the
Cuckoo's
Cuckoo's
Nest.
Nest, yes, in 1975, and he also got the third one, which I'm impressed, which is 1934's "It Happened One Night" with Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert.
Wow.
Okay, the next question, and no cheating, by the way. Okay,
I like.
Tom,
I
Tom.
like Trish Baracchio. Kramer versus Kramer.
Well, Kramer versus Kramer. Was it Meryl Streep win a supporting? Did she win supporting Oscar? I think she won a supporting Oscar for that.
She wins. She's got how many? How many
She's
times?
won everything.
Yes, exactly.
um, okay, the next one. Tom Hanks won back-to-back Best Actor Oscars for what two films?
I think one of them was Philadelphia, and the other one was Forrest Gump.
That is correct. 1993 and 1994. In 1972, a musical won 8 Grammy Awards but did not win Best Picture. A
Okay.
musical won 8 Academy Awards but did not win Best Picture.
It's funny. You know what you did? You said 8 Grammy Awards.
Oh, I'm sorry, 8 Academy Awards.
I was
Eight
saying that's a lot.
Academy Awards. It
Okay.
won 8 Academy Awards but did not win Best Picture.
What year?
1972.
Oh, okay. Ah. Uh, well, we know that in 1972, the Best Picture went to The Godfather, right?
Yes, finally, your Godfather answer is going to be correct. So Godfather
Okay.
won Best Picture,
A
but
broken clock is right at least twice a day.
that's correct, unless it's a military clock.
But
Um,
what was the other film that bucked The Godfather for eight awards? That's no, no, it was not 2001: A Space Odyssey. That was in 1968.
well,
Um,
Peter Morellis on the chat board and also Frank R. Have the correct answer.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
No, no. Cabaret,
Cabaret.
Cabaret. Now I am
Life
going.
is a cabo. I like that show because it has my name in it. Cabaret
Oh
Ocean.
God. Um. Now the bonus question. I am going to correct Scott because there's actually three movies that are this answer, and one of them was on last night too. What film was nominated? Which films, the ones that have gotten the most Academy Award nominations? Which films? He names one, but there were actually three. They were all tied. Okay, at 14 nominations. There were three films that got 14 nominations, which is the most. Can you name those three films?
I'm going to say Godfather again.
No.
Gone with the Wind. That's another one I can keep
Nope,
using.
not Gone with the Wind.
Titanic.
Titanic is one of them,
Oh, okay.
correct? Titanic is one of them. There's two others, and so far nobody on the chat board's coming close. Not Ben-Hur, although Ben-Hur I think was nominated for 11. I think it was
How,
nominated for 11 and won 10 of them, something like that.
how about Cleopatra?
No, not Cleopatra. Not Ben-Hur, not Rocky. Years. Okay, one of them was I think 2016, and the other one was 1950. And as I said, it was on last night. I even mentioned it on the air last night. Oh God, no, Trish Baracchio. No, not the English Patient. Those are, that movie. That's like 2.5 hours of my life that I will never get back. Um, Miss Blue Ocean remembers, and she gets it. All About Eve. All About Eve. 14
Wow.
nominations and 8 wins. And by the way, it still holds the record where all four female leads were nominated for two for Best Actress, Betty Davis and Ann Baxter, and both the other two, the supporting two nominations as well, Celeste Holm and Thelma Ritter. So that's the only movie that's ever done that. So there's one left, and that's in 2016. It's a movie I will never see. Okay. Um, it was a musical. I think it was 2016. Um, try to see. Nobody's got it up. Not Rear Window, because that's not 2016. Not The Karate Kid. Some of you. Oh, Chris Alley got All About Eve. Very good, Chris. Um,
Brandon Grabachev says Layla.
oh no, that's actually the answer. It's La La Land.
Oh, La La
And
Land.
yes, and I think that nobody else got it because nobody saw that movie. Nobody saw that movie, or at least I certainly did. La La Land.
La La Land, not to be confused with Hollywoodland, which is the story about George Reeves.
Yes, correct. So there you have it. We're wrapped up. Thank you, Scott Miller, for giving us that. And it's a Thursday night, so which means we're going to be off Friday and we're going to be off Saturday. So we're not back until Sunday.
And a reminder who we have on Monday. Nick
Yes,
Gregory is going to be on Monday. So
Nick Gregory's here on Monday, and mark it down because we have a.
Christopedia is asking me where's the hummingbirds. The hummingbirds, at least in my area where I live in Putnam Valley, I've never seen the hummingbirds any earlier than the first week of May, even though some websites claim or attest to the fact that they are here sometimes as early as early April, but I've never seen a hummingbird around here in April. Usually, and I don't put my feeders out until the first week of May anyway. And they would be dumb to try to come up now with all of the wet weather, all the windy weather, and possibly all the chilly weather that's headed our way during the latter part of this month. So
I have a my daughter gave me a hummingbird feeder with cameras with a camera in it, so I'm gonna put that up. They're usually back here in soon. Um, by the end of this month, they're here, late March, early April. So
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, further south, they're there, and then they work their way north up to our area. And over
that's
the last 2 or 3 years, I've noticed, you know, on some occasions, right after big storms, I might add, that I have seen as many as 6 or 7 hummingbirds just flying around the three feeders that I have. They're such a delight to watch. I mean, they're going up and down, backwards, forwards, or whatever. So,
oh yeah, they are really fun to watch. They're so cool. They're really
yep,
they're so cool to watch.
yep.
And I've got my other feeders. I actually just filled one today with safflower seed because squirrels don't like safflower seed, so they leave the bird feeders alone. So I put safflower seed in there, and there's a cardinal that has my house is part of its territory, and at least once or twice a week, I see him fighting with another male because they've got free food. So whoever owns this territory doesn't want to give it up. And I have this gorgeous hawk that I'm part of that hawk's territory, and he's always in my trees, flying back and forth. Very cool, very cool to watch.
We have red tail hawks here. I'm still waiting to see my first eagle, though. I'd love to see an eagle. Um, but I think they like to hang out more in a wet environment. We
Yeah,
do
near
have
a
a
river, near a river or a lake.
yeah, we have Lake Oscawana, which is not too far from where I am, but yeah, I've yet to see one in my immediate vicinity. But we do have red tail hawks occasionally that show up, and they are magnificent, and they have big wingspans too.
Yeah, I had a bald eagle. I went out when I went out fishing on Lake Nottely here last April, I think it was. I threw a bait fish off the hook that had died, so I took a bait fish and just tossed it into the lake, and I never didn't even realize it, but I was I'm seeing the thing float away, and it got out maybe about 50 yards or so, and all of a sudden a bald eagle came down with its talons, just swooped it up and took it away. It was I wish I knew it was coming so I could have filmed it. But it was magnificent to see that close up.
Yeah,
It
they
was
are.
a total surprise. It was a total surprise. All right,
Well,
let's wrap it up.
we have 77 likes, and thanks again to David Fuller who hit the tip jar twice tonight. And we'll see you on Sunday, Joe.
And we'll be back Sunday. So everybody have a great night, a great Friday, and a great Saturday, and we'll see you Sunday night at 7:35. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bonds.